All right, buddy. I promised I would give you this thing. I was praying this morning and I felt the Lord's drew my mind to your buddy Preston. And it was specifically my feeling of, and I think his heart of mercy and love and longing. Like he loves your buddy Preston and has thought about him since the beginning of the world. We know this out of scripture, but I can tell his heart for your buddy. And so longing for Preston to discover him is part of what was in my mind. And so the image that came along with that was a gray house or a gray box, like a room that Preston and many others like him in this secular humanist world are forced into. It's like a room full of without windows, little light bulb light, and they're told to live inside this room. You can't trust anything outside of this room. You have to stay inside this room and never go outside. There's nothing outside. This is the room, and this is the only place there is. And that little room, that little gray box, is like what atheism really does, and scientific intellectualism that says you can't know anything but science. All of that is like sticking people in a box. And outside of this little gray box, this little gray room, is a huge landscape of mountains and waterfalls and rivers, stars, clouds, rolling thunder, sunlight, nighttime, seasons, beauty. And that is the world I believe God has made. So not that we are anti-intellectual, it's that intellectual, secular humanism is like a very narrow way of looking at the world. And a lot of guys like Preston and so many others are shoved in there by other people who say, oh, no. There's nothing outside of this box. Stay in the box. You can only trust the box. If you need light, use the electric light. Turn it on, turn it off. But they never taste sunlight. They never feel the warmth of it on their skin. They never see it. And so a lot of times when we as believers, God gives us friendships that allow us to walk into people's little boxes. And this happens all the time. I smell like the field, and I smell like the mountains, and I smell like the rivers and the lakes I've been swimming in, and my skin is suntanned and not pale white. And people kind of don't know what to do with someone who walks with God, because they just feel different than everybody else who lives in the box. And we do our best. It's our job to witness of the bigger world outside of the box. That, man, there's actually, this light bulb is nothing compared to the sun. And you don't know what it's like to feel the wind or see the stars. And people can't believe it because they've never been outside of the box. They've been told the box is all there is, and they never move outside of it. And some will risk it. Like, you can go over and you can crack the door and they'll look outside and it's so bright they can't even imagine that's a good thing. Or if the wind pushes in, it's suddenly really cold and they don't know what to do with it. And it's like, it's usually people will make a choice that they'll either risk walking out and tasting God and seeing it and learning about it. And you've got to get stronger because it is colder and hotter, and there's more going on out in the big world of what he's made. And but some people choose that is out there is not good. I'm going to stay in the box. I like the light bulb and the light switch. I turn on the light's on. I turn off the light is off. Out in the big world, The sun's up, you get light. The sun goes down, the light's gone. You don't control that world. And for me, this is my heart towards people who have not yet tasted the goodness of God. They don't know what it's like to taste his sunlight in wild and open spaces and drink from rivers. And that's where I spend most of my life. And he's called us to move into people's boxes and try to give them a taste of what he wants to bring them out into. But here's the reality that has to be accepted with all friendships like that. You can love them and spend time with them, but at some point, unless they're willing to move out into the big world, there's going to be this natural barrier to the friendship. And you don't want it, and you wish you could make it different. But this is where, like Mr. John and I would give you just an example. I love him, and I've enjoyed his friendship and all of that for years, but there's a limit to which we can have fellowship. He is willfully against going outside of the box. He's willfully against running in the fields with me, climbing the mountains with me, going in the waterfalls, watching the stars, enjoying the goodness of God. He's determined that his box is the box. And there's everything outside of it doesn't exist. And I'm just a fool talking about things that don't exist. And that is the fork. I've loved him. I've sought him. I've spoken to him. I've witnessed to him about the bigger world. But ultimately, people make a choice. And I can't make him believe or anything. I just have to accept that there's a limit. There are those who are friends, like the guys I was traveling in North Africa with. Those guys are running the fields with me, climbing the peaks, sliding the avalanches, swimming the rivers. Like, we're living the big life together. I could do anything with those guys. Just because we're from the same places. I can't go live in a box again. And I'm not going to go, if someone doesn't leave with me and go outside, at some point I can't go live in there with them. And this is the word that I was having early this morning. I wanted to pass it to you. Just wanted to, you do whatever you want with it. I just did feel the Lord wanted me to give you that picture.